Look, I had served in the Galactic Enforcement Division for 12 cycles. 12 cycles of handling civil unrest on mining colonies, breaking up smuggling rings on border stations. Once, just once, I had even survived a firefight with rogue mercenaries near the Andromeda sector. So when my commanding officer told me I was being reassigned to Earth, to a human education facility of all places, I laughed. Actually laughed right in his face. Big mistake. Huge. But at the time, standing there in his office with my 3 commendations pinned to my chest, I thought I knew better. Humans were soft, right? Pink, squishy. No natural armor, no venom sacs, no combat-ready appendages. Their planet was a backwater that had only joined the galactic community 15 cycles ago. They were practically infants on the cosmic stage. My assignment was simple, laughably simple. Provide security at Maplewood Elementary School in a place called Portland, Oregon. Make sure the small humans, the juveniles they called kids, stayed safe during their learning hours, monitor the perimeter, file reports, collect my credits. Easy duty for a decorated officer like myself. The facility itself was, well, cute. All bright colors and rounded edges, nothing like the angular military structures I was used to. The humans had painted pictures on the walls, little handprints in every color you could name. There were soft grass areas outside where the juveniles would run and scream for no apparent reason. The whole place smelled like cleaning solution and something sweet they called crayons. I reported from my first shift wearing my full tactical gear, my plasma restraint belt attached to my waist, my communication device properly synced. Professional, ready, completely, utterly, stupidly unprepared for what was about to happen. Human children, as I would shortly learn, were not the problem. Human mothers, however, that was a different story entirely. It was 14 minutes into my shift when everything went sideways. The small humans had been released into their outdoor containment area, what they called recess, and I was conducting a standard perimeter check. Most of the juveniles were engaged in apparently normal activities, running in circles, throwing balls at each other, screaming at frequencies that honestly made my sensory organs hurt. Standard chaos according to my briefing files. Then I spotted him, a tiny male juvenile, couldn't have been more than 6 cycles old, with brown hair sticking up in all directions, wearing some kind of bright yellow shirt with a cartoon creature on it. The child, Tommy, according to his identification badge, was wandering away from the designated safe zone, heading straight towards the maintenance sector where the climate control units were housed. Protocol was clear. Section 7, paragraph 3 of the safety manual stated that no juvenile was permitted in restricted areas without adult supervision. Hazardous equipment, potential for injury, liability concerns, all that bureaucratic nonsense. I moved quickly, intercepting the child before he could reach the doorway. I placed my hand on his shoulder, firm but not aggressive, exactly as I had been trained. Standard restraint procedure for non-hostile subjects. The juvenile looked up at me with those weird little eyes humans have, all wide and watery. Then he started crying. Not just crying, wailing. This high-pitched sound seemed to pierce directly into my skull. His face turned red, actually red, and liquid started pouring from his eyes. Was he injured? Had I somehow damaged him? My grip had been well within acceptable parameters for human juvenile bone density. "I am Security Officer Vaughn," I said, trying to maintain my professional tone. "You are in violation of safety protocols. You must return to the designated area immediately." The crying got louder, substantially louder. Then I noticed the other humans, the adult supervisors but ones they called teachers, had stopped what they were doing. They were staring at me. Not with gratitude for preventing a safety violation, mind you. No, they were staring with expressions I could not quite identify. Their faces had gone tight, their body language had shifted to something my combat training recognized as pre-aggressive posturing. One of them, a female with dark hair pulled back severely, started walking towards me, fast. "I want my mommy," the small human wailed, still firmly in my grip. "Sir," the female teacher called out, her voice sharp, "Sir, you need to let go of that child right now. Let go." I had not completed the safety escort procedure yet. Protocol required me to return the juvenile to the proper zone and file an incident report. Why was she interfering with standard security operations? This juvenile was attempting to access a restricted area, I explained calmly. I am following proper containment procedures. The woman's eyes went even wider. Her hands came up in what my database suggested was either a calming gesture or preparation to strike. I honestly could not tell which. That is when I heard the sound that would haunt my nightmares for cycles to come. Tires screeching in the parking area, a vehicle door slamming with enough force to register on my audio sensors, and then footsteps, running footsteps, coming fast. She came around the corner of the building like some kind of predator I had only read about in xenobiology reports. Female, approximately 30 cycles old, with dark hair whipping behind her as she ran, wearing what my database identified as business casual attire and footwear completely unsuitable for combat. Heels, they called them. Ridiculous things that made a sharp clicking sound on the pavement. But none of that mattered the second her eyes locked on her offspring, Tommy. She shouted, and the small human somehow cried even harder, reaching his little arms towards her. "Mommy! Mommy! Mommy!" he sobbed. I saw the female, Rebecca Martinez, according to the identification protocols I pulled up in 0.4 seconds, stop approximately 3 meters away. Her chest was heaving from the run, her face flushed that odd pink color humans turned when experiencing elevated cardiovascular activity. But it was her eyes that made my combat training suddenly wake up and pay attention. Those eyes were not afraid, not even close. "Get your hands off my son," she said. Her voice dropped to this low, dangerous register that made my hair on the neck rise and stand straight up. "Right now, ma'am," I replied, keeping my professional and measured tone. "Your offspring is attempting to access a restricted zone. I am following standard safety intervention per Protocol Section 7, Paragraph 3. Once I have escorted him back to the designated area and completed the incident report, he will be released to proper supervision." She took a step closer, her hands curling into fists at her sides. "Get your hands off my son." "Ma'am, you need to calm down. I am a certified Galactic Enforcement Officer with full authority granted by your planetary government. I am following established procedures. Your emotional response is not relevant to the safety violation." "Oh, I will show you an emotional response," she said, and I swear to the ancients her voice got even quieter, even deadlier. "You have exactly 3 seconds to let go of my child before I make you regret every single decision that brought you to this planet." I almost laughed. Almost. This female was barely up to my chest plate, had no visible weapons, no armor, no backup. She was making threats against a trained security officer over a simple protocol enforcement. The absurdity of it would have been funny if she hadn't looked so completely, utterly serious. "Ma'am, I must insist that you step back and allow me to complete my duties. Interference with security operations is a violation of Code 17-9 and can result in detention." "Excuse me, ma'am. This is highly inappropriate behavior. I am warning you that physical aggression towards enforcement personnel will result in immediate restraint and possible criminal charges." She went to her pocket. And that, my friends, is when my entire understanding of human threat assessment went completely out the airlock. She pulled out her keys. I know, it sounds ridiculous. Keys, small metal objects used to operate their primitive vehicle locking mechanisms. I'd seen them in my briefing materials, right alongside information about their coffee addiction and their strange obsession with something called Wi-Fi. But this female, this Rebecca Martinez, didn't hold those keys like someone who wanted to go home. Oh no. She threaded them between her fingers, pointed and sticking out from her knuckles like makeshift claws, the jagged edges catching the sunlight. She held them like a weapon, like she actually knew how to use them as a weapon. "Last chance," she said, and started walking towards me. My training kicked in. Sort of. I had been trained to handle armed assailants, plasma rifles, shock batons, monofilament blades, even the occasional projectile weapon. But keys, there was no protocol for keys. My threat assessment software literally could not categorize what I was looking at. "Ma'am," I attempted one more time, tightening my grip on the still crying juvenile, "I am authorized to use reasonable force if you attempt to assault me." She smiled. Actually smiled. It was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen, and then she was on me.
I don't mean she attacked cautiously or telegraphed her movements or gave me any of the warning signs my combat instructors had drilled into me. She just launched herself forward with zero hesitation and drove those keys straight towards my face. I jerked my head back purely on instinct and felt the jagged metal scrape across my cheek plate. It actually hurt. Those little pieces of metal cut through my dermal layer. "Release him," she snarled and swung again, this time aiming for my hand that was holding her offspring. I let go. Of course I let go. What else was I supposed to do? The small human scrambled away, still crying, but now running towards the teachers who, in absolute shock, caught him. And suddenly, I was facing this human female alone, and she wasn't stopping, not even a little. She came at me with those keys like a trained fighter. Jab, slash, jab. I blocked with my forearm and felt the keys rake across my uniform, tearing the fabric. I tried to grab her wrist, standard disarmament technique, but she twisted away with flexibility that shouldn't have been possible and drove her knees straight into my midsection. The air whooshed out of my lungs. Actual air from my actual lungs. "Officer down," I gasped into my communicator. "Officer down. Require immediate backup." And then I heard it. More footsteps, more voices. I risked a glance to the side and felt my stomach drop straight through the ground. Other humans were arriving, other parents. They had heard the commotion, seen what was happening,